Um, I have a strong reason why. At that time, it was to make my family proud. I didn't grow up with much stability. Father wasn't around, mother working two jobs and then another job on the weekend. Essentially raised by my brothers, who they're kids as well. They have their own lives. They want to go and party, go out, do their things. But my brother had to carry a 7-year-old around with him when he was 14, and so on. Um, so I did it for them. I did it for my family. I did it for the kids I will have in the future eventually. I did it for the average Canadian kid who has big aspirations and aspires to be somewhere where they're not.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Matthew Chow. I'm a physician, specialist in mental health, and chief mental health officer at TELUS Health. And it's my absolute pleasure today to interview Tosaint Ricketts, liaison, player and club engagement with the Whitecaps Football Club. Thanks for the honor and privilege of interviewing you today.
Thanks for having me.
So we were chatting a little bit earlier about your career and your life, leading up to this role, and it's just incredible actually to think about all the challenges that you've overcome. Maybe we could start with like some of the highlights of some of the things that you've had to overcome to be here in this chair, chatting with me about mental health today.
Wow, so many obstacles. Don't even know where to start. But I'll name a few, just like in my professional career as a soccer player. Started my career in Finland, got sold to a club in Romania, signed a 3-year contract, good money for my age for myself at that age, and good first season in a big environment. Went from playing in front of 2,000 people to 40,000 people. Went from being, like normal lower level soccer player to being like a superstar in Romania. And team was doing great. We finished the season in second, earned ourselves a spot in Champions League qualification. I went home thinking everything's good on break, came back, team got relegated to the second league, stopped paying players. I was one of those players that, wasn't receiving a paycheck. That went on for 3 months until I was able to leave illegally. And then I had to fight for 6 months to become free from that club. So that was the first major obstacle I experienced in my career.
Wow. And that's one of the things that you've had to deal with. And there's been many different things. How do you keep moving forward despite all that? Like, because you strike me as someone that you always give at least 100%. You get through each challenge and you seem to grow from each challenge. Like, how do you do it?
I have a strong reason why. At that time, it was to make my family proud. I didn't grow up with much stability. Father wasn't around, mother working 2 jobs and then another job on the weekend. Essentially raised by my brothers, who they're kids as well. They have their own lives. They want to go and party, go out, do their things. But my brother had to carry a 7-year-old around with him when he was 14, and so on. So I did it for them. I did it for my family. I did it for the kids I will have in the future eventually. I did it for the average Canadian kid who has big aspirations and aspires to be somewhere where they're not.
Yeah. And I mean, you are everything you do already is inspiring people, which is incredible,
Thank you
right?
for that.
And earlier you were sharing with me that another part of your why is to help people have a different path than you did. Can you speak a little more to that?
Yeah, I mean, there was many times growing up when I could have just quit. I can name 10 times where I could be like, okay, I'm done with this game, or I don't want to pursue my education, or we don't have the finances for me to achieve certain things. I could have gave up, and many players around me gave up. Players that were better than me. I was never the best player on my team. There was always players getting pushed harder than me. There was players that were getting more recognition than me and attention and the accolades. But I used all those moments, all those bad moments, good moments, moments with family, moments not with family, as motivation to keep going and to create change and a better future for others.
Yeah. What are some ways that you're trying to create that better future for other people? How to change that path for others?
Being available. I think of just looking around this dressing room and the guys who have come here who, I look at Andres Cubas, who, is from a different country, who's come in here and has to adapt to the language, lifestyle, culture.
Like you had to.
Like I had to on many occasions. And through that journey, I never had a great support system. My family was always there for me, watching from a distance. They weren't the type to splurge on a plane ticket and come see me in Turkey or Israel, any of those places. I had them phone call away, FaceTime away. But I never had somebody there with me in those tough times when in Romania or Turkey when I just got ripped off by someone or someone, did something racist or something. I didn't have a good support system around me. So I want to be that for the next generation. I want to be that for the first team. I want to be that for the academy kids growing up because it matters and it helps in tough times.
Yeah. Talk about how much it matters. Tell me a little bit more about that.
I mean, it's the difference, I think of some of the kids I speak to on a daily basis within the academy, the problems that they're encountering, the obstacles that they're experiencing, I've been through, and just being able to listen to them and be on the same level as them, to be like, hey, I grew up in the same city as you. My dad wasn't around just like you. I've lost friends along the way, just providing that comfort, being that ear, it means a lot to not only the person, but it means a lot for me to help them in those moments.
You speak with the authority of someone with lived experience. That is so, I think, you can tell, that's crucial, right? It makes you more credible. It makes you more believable when you're talking about something that you've actually experienced yourself. What does mental health mean to you?
Mental health is being at peace with who you are, understanding that, if something bad, something negative, something that you unplanned happens to you, it's not the end of the world, but it's also dealing with the highs in a responsible way. I've seen both extremes where, a bad thing happens or something very impactful negatively in someone's life happens to them, it crushes them, but I've also seen good things, you get sold to a big team, you start making a lot of money. I've seen players like that, people like that also crash as well. So I've always, and I think my university coach, Tom Poitras, from Green Bay, he told me this, never get too high, never get too low. And that kind of resonated with me. I used to be hard on myself growing up. When I had a bad performance, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't think. It's all I could think about. And it consumed me. And sometimes when I had good performances, I would be like, oh, I was great, Yeah. But then when I look back at the video, I'd realize, oh, I wasn't as great as I thought. Or if I look back at the video, I realized I wasn't as bad as I thought, and it always landed somewhere in between. So I kept myself the same way. Never too high, and never too low.
That's such a neat mental health teaching moment, right? About finding that balance, not too high, not too low, and having that self-reflection to be able to look at the tape and say, yeah, that wasn't as good as I thought it was, but also it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. That's really neat that you've come to understand that. How do you transmit that wisdom? Because that's what I would call it, wisdom that you have. How do you transmit that to the younger players?
Just being organic, being genuine, listening, just being there for a player, and when they come to me, just being open, and sharing my experiences, because I've been there. I've been in the good moments, I've been in the bad moments, and for someone that is going through it who hasn't been through said situation, hearing it from someone else and understanding that you will be fine, your life goes on after this, you could even become a better person from these experiences. Just try to convey that, and just from my experiences.
Yeah. And again, like, you've had those experiences in spades, right? Like, you've had times where you didn't get paid.
Yeah.
You've had times where people like treated you really crummy. And you also mentioned earlier, and I know this is it's a painful topic, but you've also experienced racism.
Yeah.
And that's hard. And so if you feel comfortable about this, like, can you share a little bit about what that's been like and how you've overcome that?
Well,
or can you overcome it, because it's still,
yes, you can definitely.
this is a very real thing that's ongoing.
Oh, of course,
I think.
of course. And I have to give credit to my parents and my mom especially. She instilled a confidence in us that I don't think anyone can break. Between me, my brothers, when people go low, we always go high. I've done that since I was a kid. Experiencing racism, I always reacted in a positive way, to the point where they kind of were taken back, like, that's not the reaction I was expecting, but I'm sure it resonated with that person at the time. But it just comes down to being confident with who you are and understanding that it's other people's insecurities why they say bad things. It's other people that are hurting when they try to attack you and bring you down, or attack your character. So I've always just been confident with who I am and very much happy with who I am.
That's amazing. And it's so generous too, that when others go low, you go high, and that it sounds like, you ascribe to people even when they're being hateful, like that they're the ones that are hurting. I think that is incredibly generous and big-hearted of you to be able to do that. And you said it came from your mom.
Yeah.
But I think you have to take credit for it too, because you're continuing it. How do you try to share that and transmit that to your players and to the other people in your life, like the people that you touch in your life?
By making them understand that they have a platform, first of all. As a professional athlete, there's a responsibility that comes with that. When you go to a stadium and you see, like, for example, this weekend at BC Place, or anytime at BC Place, there's 30,000 people there to see you.
Yeah.
There's kids there who idolize you. There's a responsibility that comes with that. So for these players to be ready for that responsibility, ready to take advantage of that platform, they got to be educated in the things they're talking about. So that's what I do. Any opportunity for example, if it's about racism, bringing players into the conversation, allowing them to learn and grow, reflect, and get to that level where they can now share and transmit that to other people. It's just all about education and understanding.
Wow, that's powerful stuff. And that platform you talk about, like, that's why talking about mental health today, for example, is so important. People look up to you. I'll just tell you that straight up.
Yeah,
People look up to you. They see you, that you're a high performer, that you've been successful, that you've helped other people be successful. And so what you say about mental health and what you're teaching today about mental health means a lot. So thank you for doing that. What do you think about stuff that's going on online these days? Because that seems to be an added pressure, especially for young people, right? Like, there's a lot of negativity online, sometimes even hatred, vitriol. Like, how do you help people cope with that?
It's tough, because everyone copes differently. Everyone experiences different types of hate. As an athlete, you're always in the spotlight. So just from a starter, you have to expect it. Always expect someone's going to criticize you. Always expect someone's going to be judging you harshly or not understanding what you're going through in a moment, and understanding that's what it is. They don't know who you are. They don't know what you're going through. They don't know your strengths, weaknesses. You don't know why you're not playing well on the day.
Yeah.
So their opinion in that moment is based off very little knowledge of who you are and the world you live in. So, that's how I dealt with it. I just see them as couch warriors. I call
As
them.
couch warriors, indeed. Yeah. There's a lot, couch warriors, armchair generals out there, sure. That's the tricky thing, right, about the online platforms, is that everyone who has an opinion now can share that opinion and has a bit of a platform to share that. Do you see that affecting people more these days than, let's say, previously? Because
Yeah.
you've had a long career and you've seen that change.
Yeah, especially with the younger generation who spend a lot of their time on social media,
Yeah.
and who attach their identity to their profiles, to their Instagram, to their Twitter, to their TikTok. That's who they are. Those are the people that it hits the hardest. But it's just, at the end of the day, they don't know who you are as a person. And that's my advice for anyone. If you carry yourself in a way where you try to stay in that top % of character, human, empathy, caring, what you do on the pitch is all extra. It's all, I don't know how to put it. It's hard to explain, but it's for the show, but it doesn't make you who you are as a person. So for me, the biggest insult is he's not a nice guy. He's not a good person. He's not caring. That's way worse than saying, oh, he doesn't have a good left foot, or he can't score a goal from outside the 18, or his technique isn't great. I would rather hear those things than someone say, oh, you're a bad person.
Wow. So for you, like, your character, like who you are, how you treat
Number
other
one.
people, the respect, like that's number one, you're saying.
And it's always been my entire life, my entire career. Even in those situations where I told you a club was essentially lying to me, not fulfilling their contractual obligations, I was still professional. Not one of those presidents, agents, coaches from my time could say that I was a bad person and that my character was compromised because of my situation. I always kept my character at the highest level.
Wow. That's so, like, powerful, and it takes a lot of courage and strength to do that. You make it sound easy. I can tell you it's not easy to have that kind of level of integrity despite all of that.
Thank you.
So how do you help young players, people that are developing? How do you help them with that, to develop that same strength?
Just stay present.
Yeah.
A lot of players get ahead of themselves and think of the end goal.
Mm-hmm.
Which is very common because, you do need goals. You need something to strive for. But, you have to stay present. You have to try to become a better person every day. It's not something that you can do one week and then not do the other. It's about getting better every day if you're talking about becoming a professional. That's why I tell these young kids, just don't worry about the weekend. Worry about what you can do today to make yourself better tomorrow. And just empathy, just hearing someone out, understanding their problems, and being able to either relate with them or just help them through a tough time.
Yeah. That's so cool to hear you use the word empathy in, like, a high level athletics context.
It's big.
Like, do you think, tell me, okay, why is it big?
Because oftentimes it's hard to understand a person if you can't put yourself in their shoes. I think my level of empathy grew from all the different cultures I experienced, all the different countries I've been to, having to adapt to an environment that I don't know anything about, and then still have to perform and be the best person I can in that situation.
And if I recall correctly, 8 countries, 14 cities?
8 countries, 12 cities.
12 cities.
4 different continents.
4 continents.
I played in and lived in and adapted to.
Wow. And you found that, like, empathy was critical.
It was huge.
Crucial.
It made me understand why people treated me different. It made me understand, why I didn't fit in with a certain group or why I was struggling to communicate with a certain group. I never judged those people. I just imagined if I was them, what I would feel about myself and somebody that I don't really know, relate with, or have any connection to.
I think that's one of your superpowers. Be able to imagine, like, what it's like to be someone else and to put yourself in your shoes. Like, that's not It's that easy, actually. Especially these days when things are kind of like the world's a bit polarized right now. There's a lot of angry folks out there. But for you to be able to say, hey, I can put myself in your shoes.
Yeah, maybe to a default, because oftentimes to do that, you have to put yourself second. And a lot of people struggle with putting themselves second because,
Yeah.
you have to go outside of your comfort zone to make someone else feel comfortable, if that makes sense.
Putting yourself second. That's an interesting and a really, really strong
In
point
relation
that
to experiencing empathy and understanding it.
Yeah. But also to have confidence in yourself, because you were pointing out earlier. So putting yourself second so that you can understand what it's like for other people and where they're coming from, but also putting yourself, I'd say, like putting yourself first in terms of having confidence in yourself.
Of course, I mean, to empathize with somebody else, it doesn't change who you are as a person. Never once doubted who I was as a person, what I wanted to be, how to get there.
I think that's crucial, right? Like that you can still think about other people, but still be 100% confident, 110% confident about yourself and what you want, and not change yourself.
Yeah.
Like I think that's so crucial. And I think sometimes people make that mistake, that maybe they think that, or they worry that accommodating someone else or trying to understand where they're coming from means having that they have to change themselves.
No.
And not you're saying not necessarily.
No.
You can still be yourself.
Yeah.
Which is crucial. What more do you think we could do to support players' mental health, young people's mental health, or even society's mental health? You have any ideas about that or any thoughts about that?
Yeah, of course. Conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm big on conversation, big about talking about your problems, sharing your problems, sharing your successes as well, and creating an open space. One thing I love about this club is that it's like a family environment. If a player is experiencing something external of soccer, this whole ecosystem, there's someone here that was willing to listen to them, willing to help them through that issue.
So I couldn't help but notice, because I've had the chance to tour the facility and to eat upstairs at the in the cafeteria. Like it feels like a family in here. Like it feels very welcoming. It feels like people are part of something bigger than themselves. Like do you see that too? You notice that too? Is that intentional?
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so. We have a good culture, but that's what a sporting organization should be. If a lot of people are paying money to come watch, a lot of people are tuning in, spending their valuable time to support and watch a club, that club should have values that, the community can absorb.
Yeah.
For me, a sporting organization should be the pillar of your community, because they promote good behavior. They promote good values, as in helping people in need, giving back, inspiring, and performing, And for me, that's a lot of my motivation too, is to have a club or organization like that in Canada, because, soccer in Canada is still growing and doesn't have as much influence on the culture of the city as it does in other cities and other places around the world. So that's a bit of my motivation there.
Yeah. Well, believe me, you're having an impact, because people look up to you. People look up to this club. And like I said, personally, just coming in here today, like I could feel those values. Like I could feel, like it permeates this whole building. It permeates this interview that I'm having with you. Like
It puts a smile on my face.
you've developed something here that's really special, and you just feel it. And I'm saying that personally, but also professionally as a mental health therapist. Like there's something in here that supports people's well-being and mental health, which is really cool. So you, yeah, pat on the back for that. If there was something that you wanted to share with the audience today about mental health, like something you've learned during your career, something that you noticed, something you'd want to just, or something you just want to tell people or share, what would that be?
that it's okay to not be okay. People often associate happiness with everything going perfectly as you thought it in your head and as you wrote it down on your vision board or planned it in your goals. But the reality is it's never going to go exactly as you plan. But if you're confident in who you are, you're confident in why you're doing the things you're doing, it's harder to get derailed. I would also encourage people to speak because, keeping things inside can tear you up and eat you from the inside out. And just use your resources. There's so many resources like this conversation right now. It's not easy, digging deep and talking about your inner emotions and feelings, but, it's therapeutic and it helps with mental health. So I would say be confident with who you are, understand that not everything is going to go exactly as you planned. And when you feel like you can't cope in those moments, find someone to speak to, whether that's a family member, whether that is a coach, teammate, teacher, best friend, dog, animal, just speak because it helps to get that weight off your chest and off your head.
Yeah. And I'll add, it saves lives too. When people can talk openly about these types of things, it absolutely saves lives. And it's so remarkable to hear someone like you that's been so successful in your life, but also had to overcome so many challenges, like be able to share that like being open is important. Because
sure.
I'll tell you, it's not easy.
No,
It's not easy. The fact that you're even talking about this is not easy. And I'd say even 10 years ago, like people would climb up about this type of stuff. Yeah. So good on you,
Thank you
for being able to share about that. So I'm Dr. Matthew Chow, Chief Mental Health Officer at TELUS Health. It's been my absolute pleasure to speak to Tosaint Ricketts today from the Whitecaps Football Club. Just a remarkable individual. I hope I'm not making you blush.
Thank you.
That's been through a lot. I think if I can imagine a challenge, I'm pretty sure you've overcome it at some point. Because, of course, this is also a man who did a graduate degree, an MBA, at the same time he was playing professionally, which is just absolutely amazing. I barely got through med school, just the med school. I think if I had to play soccer at the same time, that would have been a bit much. So just an amazing individual. And thank you so much
And thank you
for sharing today.
Thank you.